everyone, welcome to the new video of Datanalytics. Today's video is about independent sample t-test in SPSS. We have started the parametric test analysis of primary data and completed the one sample t-test in SPSS in the previous video. Today's video is regarding independent sample t-test. First of all, we have to check what is the meaning of independent sample t-test. It is a statistical test used to compare the mean of two independent groups to determine if there is any significant difference between them regarding their mean value. The first group variable should have only two categories or two options. That is a very important point in independent sample t-test. The another group should have a continuous scale variable or a Likert scale item. There are different kind of assumptions for conducting the independent sample t-test. First of all, the group should have independent. Data should be normally distributed and equal variance or homogeneity of variance should assumed. Therefore, in this data set, we can see gender which has only two options, that is male and female. Therefore, we have to compare is there any significant difference in the adoption level of ICT between male and female respondents. Here we have already seen that adoption level is measured by using different components, namely affordability, applicability, accessibility, availability, accountability, acceptability, and finally overall adoption level. Therefore, these are all coming under the category of a continuous scale variables. Hence, we have to check is there any significant difference in the adoption level regarding all the components and overall adoption level between male and female respondent using independent sample t-test or otherwise known as two sample t-test. Okay, let us look for the steps. Click Analyze, then select Compare Means. From the dialog box, we have to select independent sample t-test. First of all, select the gender of the respondent and move to the grouping variable. Here we can see that two question mark in the bracket of gender. Therefore, we have to define the groups of gender according to the coding process. Click Define Groups. We have already given code 1 for male, which is given as group 1, and code 2 for female, which is given as group 2. Then click Continue. Thereafter, we have to select the continuous scale variables, that is the components, 6 components, and the overall adoption level. Move into the right side, that is test variable or variables. Then click Options. We can see that the confidence interval percentage, that is 95%. It means the significance value is compared with the 5% level. Then click Continue. Thereafter OK. Here we can see that there are two important columns in the output view, that is group statistics and independent sample test result. In the group statistics, we can see different components and the variable of adoption level, gender of the respondent, N, mean, standard deviation and standard error. According to the group statistics, regarding affordability, the mean score is high in the case of male respondents and low in the case of female respondent as compared with male. That means regarding the affordability, there exists significant difference in the mean score between male and female. And in the case of applicability, we can see that the mean score is as far as same. Therefore, there is no significant difference in the applicability of ICT between male and female respondents. And in the case of accessibility, there is also a slightly significant difference between male and female respondents. The male respondents have the highest mean score of 3.88 and female respondents have the mean score of 3.56 only. And according to the availability, the male respondents have the mean score of 3.56, female respondents have the mean score of 3.35. And in the case of accountability, the male respondents have the mean score of 3.36, female respondents have only the mean score of 2.88. Therefore, there exists significant difference in the mean score of accountability between male and female. In the case of acceptability, there exists significant difference in the mean score, which male have 3.67, female have 3.20. And the overall adoption level, there is significant difference in the overall adoption level of ICT between male and female respondents with a mean score of 3.67 and 3.33 respectively. In order to verify the result of mean difference, we have to check the result of independent sample t-test. Here we can see that different columns are the result of independent sample t-test. First, the components and the variable, and equal variance assumed and not assumed. Then the result of Leven's test of equality of variance and the t-test result of equality of means. Here we have already discussed about the assumptions of independent sample t-test. That means equality of population variance is assumed. In order to check the equality of variance, we have used Leven's test. If the Leven's value, that is F value, and the significance value is concerned, if the significant value is less than 0.05, which means equal variance is not assumed. If the significance value is greater than 0.05, equal variance is assumed. And in the case of affordability, we can see that the significant value which is less than 0.05 for Leven's test of equality of variance. Hence, equal variance is not assumed and the t value and significance value of independent sample t-test corresponding to equal variance not assumed is selected for mean comparison. Here we can see that the t value, that is 2.837, degree of freedom 97.75, and the significant value, that is 0.006. It means the null hypothesis is rejected. That is, there exists significant difference between male and female respondents in the case of affordability. And in the case of applicability, accessibility, availability, accountability, acceptability and overall adoption level, the significance value of Leven's test shows the values which is greater than 0.05. Hence, we assumed the equal variance of population. Therefore, we have to use t value and significance value corresponding to equal variance assumed in all these cases. Accordingly, in the case of applicability, we can see that the t value, that is 0.160 and the significance value, that is 0.873. If the significant value is greater than 0.05, that is, we have failed to reject the null hypothesis. That is also followed in the case of accessibility, availability, etc. Hence, we can see that there is no significant difference between male and female respondents in the case of applicability, accessibility and availability of ICT. Moving to the next three components or variables: accountability, acceptability and overall adoption level. Here we can see that the significance value of Levin's test also greater than 0.05, therefore equal variance assumed should have to be selected, and the t and significance value corresponding to equal variance is selected for analysis of mean comparison. Here in the case of accountability, the t value that is 2.485 and significance value that is 0.015, and in the case of acceptability, the t value that is 2.731 and significance value that is 0.007, and in the case of adoption level, the t value that is 2.816 and the significance value that is 0.606. In all these cases, the null hypothesis is rejected with a significance value of less than 0.05. Hence, we can say that there exists significant difference between male and female respondents in the case of accountability, acceptability and adoption level. Hence, we have to look for how we report this analysis result into our research or project work. Let us look. Okay. Independent sample t-test. Gender-wise comparison of adoption level of ICT. First of all, we have to set hypothesis, null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis is that there is no significant difference in the adoption level of ICT between male and female respondents. The alternative hypothesis is that there is significant difference in the adoption level of ICT between male and female respondents. And we have given this is table number 2 because one sample t-test is given as table number 1. The table heading is independent sample t-test result of mean comparison of gender. Here we can see that the first column, that is dimensions of adoption level or components of adoption level: gender, mean, standard deviation, Levin's test of equality of variance, that is F value and significance value, and the result of equal variance assumed or not assumed, and the t-test result that we have taken here, the t value and significance value. And we have already discussed about the result, and in the case of affordability, equal variance is not assumed because the significance value is less than 0.05, and therefore the t value and significance value corresponding to equal variance assumed is given as in bold. And also in the case of applicability, the mean, standard deviation, equal variance assumed or not assumed, the Levin's test significance value and test value and t-test results are given. And in the first cases, that means the Levin's test significance value which is greater than 0.05, hence equal variance assumed for applicability. These are the result of independent sample t-test. Here we can see that the double star that indicate the significant at 1% level of significance, and the single star that indicate significant at 5% level of significance, and source is given as primary data. And it can be concluded that in the case of affordability, acceptability, adoption level and accountability, there exists significant difference between male and female respondents. From the mean value, we can see that male respondents have good level of accountability, adoption level, acceptability of ICT than female respondents. But in the case of applicability, accessibility and availability, there exists no significant difference between male and female respondents with a significance value of greater than 0.05. This is the major findings regarding adoption level of ICT between male and female respondents of the data set. This is how we interpret the result of independent sample t-test. Hope you understood the video. If you have any doubt, please comment below. Okay, we will see in another video. Thank you.